Look at these old photographs of this beautiful lady. She looks like a kind soul, doesn't she? Like someone who would not want to act unladylike, as they used to say. Well, what if I told you that this little lass you see right here is actually a ruthless cult leader? Our story begins in what is now the German state of Thuringia. From there, Andre Mentz and his wife, Elizabeth Miller, migrated to southern Brazil in order to escape religious persecution. The two of them were Wiedertäufer, or as they are known in English, Baptists, who were not tolerated in Germany going all the way back to their inception in the 1500s. After settling down and getting acquainted with the local German immigrant population that already existed in the region, the two of them decided to have a child there. And that child would grow up to be the main character of this story, and her name was Jakobina Mentz Maurer. Jakobina was born sometime between 1841 and 1842 in the region that is now known as Novo Hamburgo, or New Hamburg. Very little is known about her early life, but what is known is that in the year 1866, she would get married to a fellow religious German immigrant named Johann Georg Maurer. And Johann, well, he was an interesting character to say the least. Johann already made himself a name in nearby Sao Leopoldo as a miracle healer, claiming to use the power of God to cure illnesses and such. The two of them would often hold Bible readings, during which Jakobina would sometimes just randomly fall to the ground unconscious because she's been suffering from fainting attacks since she was 12 years old. Now, any rational person would see something like this and understand that it's a medical condition that one should see a medical professional for. But ultra-religious Germans living in 19th century rural Brazil are not rational people. Upon seeing this, many of them were like,
a blessing from the Lord. God be praised.
This is the part where things go from heretical to Far Cry 5. The people around Jakobina, as well as Jakobina herself, started to believe that she was the manifestation of God and the reincarnation of Jesus Christ. Jakobina's followers began referring to themselves as muckers, a term that was originally an insult to small fringe religious communities in Germany. But in many such religious communities, this name just kinda stuck around. On the other hand, the people who were opposed to the idea of Jakobina's divinity, or who were just considered to be enemies of the muckers, became known as spotters, which means mockers or hecklers. After some time, the muckers would construct a small settlement in Saparanga, similar to Jonestown, but, well, without the Kool-Aid. Believe it or not, people coming to Brazil to form weird religious communities was nothing new to the Brazilian authorities. But what concerned them about the muckers specifically was that word went around that the muckers were buying weapons in mass. But the Brazilian authorities would find out that it wasn't just hearsay when this happened.
Good morning, Mrs. Maurer. We have heard that you are illegally using lots of firearms inside your home.
What? No. I am literally God. God does not need firearms.
Whatever you say, Mrs. Maurer. We are just going to have a little look around, okay?
I can explain.
And just like that, girl boss Jesus got herself arrested by the police. And upon arriving in her cell, Jakobina did what Jakobina does best. Faint. Standard Jakobina behavior, nothing unusual really. But after some time, the police realized that she wasn't waking up. They immediately moved her to the Sao Leopoldo hospital. A doctor there tried to wake her up by poking her with needles, but when that didn't work, they decided to get a few of her cult members to see if they possibly knew what to do in this situation. And it turns out, they did.
I heard there was a secret yacht, the Rizzler played for Kaisenat. But you're not really from Ohio, are ya?
What the fuck?
The muckers woke her up by simply singing hymns. This miracle of theirs only increased Jacobina's fame and popularity, and she was actually released shortly after. Now, you've probably been wondering, where the hell is Jacobina's magic healing husband during all this? As it turns out, he had been busy collecting signatures in Rio de Janeiro. On December 10, 1873, Johann went to what was then Brazil's capital to deliver a petition to Emperor Pedro II, in which he complained about the muckers being harassed, insulted, and discriminated against, as well as being treated with suspicion by the local police. And yes, that is the same Pedro II you can play as in Civ 6. Yeah, it didn't really go anywhere. In response to all of this perceived aggression from the outside world, the muckers became more and more militant. But shit really hit the fan on May 4th, 1874. Now you're going to see why this is called the Revolt of the Muckers. On that day, Jacobina had gathered up to 500 of her followers at the Maurer's residence. There, Jacobina announced the end of the world and ordered the extermination of 16 rival Sputter families. And after massacring the rival Castle family, arrest warrants were issued on the Maurers and all of their followers, and the revolt against the Brazilian government had officially begun. On June 28th of 1874, police were dispatched to deal with the cult, but they were successfully fought off by a group of armed muckers. Later, on July the 19th of 1874, Brazilian army troops led by Colonel Genuino Sampaio attacked the mucker settlement and even managed to burn down the Maurer's house with them inside. But Jacobina and Johann were still able to flee undetected. While technically a Brazilian victory, Colonel Sampaio died in the fighting. From this point onwards, the muckers were in hiding somewhere in the nearby woods, until on the fateful day of August the 2nd of 1874, the demise of the muckers would come in the form of a traitor. A mucker named Carlos Lupa decided to tell the army where Jacobina's hideout was located in exchange for his own freedom. And once they got there, they killed everyone. In the ensuing massacre, Jacobina, Johann, and most of the muckers were killed. Then they were all unceremoniously thrown into a mass grave, and that was that. And although some of them survived the massacre and rebellious mucker activity went on for a few more years, by the turn of the century, all of them were gone. But they weren't forgotten. In the Novo Hamburgo region, many landmarks exist that commemorate Jacobina, the muckers, and the people they fought. Although, the youths living in the area have not been treating them so nicely. But yeah, that's pretty much it. The muckers, some obscure cult that worshipped some German chick as their god and fought against the Brazilian government. I don't really know on what note to end this video, so I'm just gonna leave you with this.